Hey guys, so in this video, let's talk about Recoleta's Euphoria. With her Euphoria, her gameplay kind of changed. So overall, what you want to focus on is that first, you want to gain Moxie until at least she have about 10. Or even up to 15 if you are going to use her as the main DPS. If you are not using her as a main DPS, because she now can be played like a sub DPS support, out support, you don't actually need 10. You kind of like, 5 is just enough as long as she get her ultimate. But what you want to make sure is that you have at least 10 stack of Monomythic or Ensemble. Okay, so 20 if your Recoleta is P1. So now you have 10 stacks of Monomythic and Ensemble combined, okay? So not 10 of each, but combined you have 10. So it can be 10 Monomythic, 0 Ensemble, or 5 Monomythic, 5 Ensemble. Alright, so you get the idea, you need 10. Then once you get that, you can use her ultimate, and once you use her ultimate, you get Preparation Recoleta. You use Preparation Recoleta to trigger the ultimate of another ally, not herself. Then after that, you just repeat the cycle. Okay, so let's go into the detail first about her max Moxie. So her insight now with her Euphoria give plus 10 max Moxie. So she got total of 15 Moxie. But again, you only need 5 Moxie to gain her ultimate. Okay? And since there are 15 Moxie, so she has a lot of way to gain Moxie. So first of all, obviously using her skill will give you plus 1 Moxie every time you use a skill. And the second one, attacking an enemy with Passion Drain will also grant her additional 1 Moxie. So let's say you use S1, you inflict the enemy with Passion Drain, then you use S2, and then you will consume the Passion Drain. And since S2 itself also provide 1 Moxie, with Passion Drain it's actually 2 Moxies. 3 is when another ally uses ultimate, you will get plus 1 Moxie. And if that ultimate is cast using Preparation Recoleta, which is through Flood of Fiction, then plus 1 more Moxie. Alright? So her skill 1, Metaphysical Conceit, is a 1 target attack, deal 100, 150, 250 relative damage. After attacking, inflict 2 stack of Passion Drain. So this is where Passion Drain comes from. Okay? Other than her, another 2 characters that also inflict Passion Drain is Melania and Moldier. So if you're using Melania and Moldier, you want Melania and Moldier to first inflict the enemy with Passion Drain, then only you attack with Recoleta. And now knowing where her Moxie come from, the second thing that I mentioned just now, we have to ensure she have enough Monomythic or Ensemble narrative. So Monomythic narrative is when casting an ultimate consume all stack of this status, which each consume stack dealing an additional 100% relative damage to the main target stack up to 20 times. So if you have like 20 stacks, each stack is going to be 100, so that's additional 2000% relative damage. Ensemble narrative, on the other hand, is from mass attack, so each consume stack dealing an additional 50% relative damage to all target, also stack up to 20 times. So if you have both of this at 20 stack each, so there's additional 2000 plus 1000, so it's additional 3000% relative damage on the main target, and all the other target will receive extra 1000% relative damage. But getting to max stacks is not that practical in the normal rotation, so unless you want to save up and then do you want to one-shot the boss, then you can stack it all the way up to 40 and then one-shot the boss. Or else, don't bother getting up to 20, focus more on the Moxies. Okay, so yeah, for the normal play, you want to at least have a combine of 10 stack of these special buff before you use her ultimate, because after you cast her ultimate, for every 10 stack of Monomythic narrative or Ensemble narrative, you will gain 1 stack of Preparation Recoleta. However, at P0, you can only get 1 stack of Preparation Recoleta, so there's no point getting, if your focus is just to get Preparation Recoleta, there is no point stacking up more than 10. Okay, if you want to stack up more than 10, it's mainly for damage. However, if you have her at P1, then she can get 2 Preparation Recoleta, so you want to get 20 stacks. So the question here is, how do we get Monomythic and Assemble? Okay, so first of all, is when an ultimate is cast and Moxie are consumed. Then for each Moxie, Recoleta will gain 1 stack of Monomythic narrative or Assemble narrative. So if the ally uses single target ultimate consuming 5 Moxie, then she will gain 5 Monomythic. On the other hand, if the ally uses a mass target ultimate, then it will grant her 5 Assemble. Okay, so single target ultimate, 5 Monomythic. Single mass target ultimate, 5 Assemble. If the ultimate is a mass buff, you will still get Assemble. If it's a targeted buff, no attacks, you will still get Monomythic. Okay, apart from ultimates, she can also get it from a skill too. So this depends on how many enemies on the field. Okay, if there's only one enemy on the field, so you are just attacking one enemy, you will get 5 stack of Monomythic. If there are several enemies, at least 2, then you will get Assemble instead. So for example, if your ally uses ultimate, then you use her S2 once, then you will have 10 stacks, okay, of Monomythic or Assemble. So now you can cast her ultimate. So her ultimate is a mass attack with the Euphoria. Now it deals 900% relative damage as base. Remember, Monomythic and Assemble will increase this relative percentage of this relative damage. And an additional of another 900% relative damage to the main target. So main target is 1800, and to all the other enemy is 900. Okay, so now you add up with, let's say, Monomythic at 20 stack, then that is another 2000. If you have Assemble, then another 1000. So she will be hitting for thousands of percent of relative damage. And when you use the ultimate, you will consume all the Monomythic narrative and Assemble narrative. When casting this ultimate, she will consume all Moxie on herself, and for each additional Moxie consume, okay, because 5 is the base, so if you have 6, so that's additional, will grant ultimate might 6% to this attack, and grant Moxie plus 1 to another ally with the lowest current Moxies. So with Recoleta around after she uses ultimate, it is more likely that your other characters will be able to use their ultimate in the next turn due to all this Moxie being granted to that character, okay, the one that has the lowest Moxies. If at least 5 additional Moxies are consumed, the bonus ultimate might granted to this attack is double, which means instead of 6%, it's going to be 12%. But she needs to have at least 10 Moxie in order to trigger this. So imagine if you have 15 Moxies, each Moxie's, the additional one is 12%, so 10 additional is 120% ultimate might. And now on top of that, her Euphoria also gives the ultimate damage dealt. So 1% per stack of Monomythic or Assemble. Again, if you have 40 stack, that is 40% damage dealt. If you have 20 stack, then that is 20% damage dealt. Okay, always Monomythic plus Assemble combined. Okay, and now after casting an ultimate, for every 10 stack, you will get the Preparation Recoleta. So I have mentioned this somewhere already, but here I just put it here again to show that these are all the things that are coming from her ultimate. After you use her ultimate, then you will get Flirt of Fiction, which is the Preparation Recoleta. Okay, so now this skill, before that you can target herself, but unfortunately now with her Euphoria, you cannot target herself anymore. You can only target your ally, which is why, again, I repeat, now if you have a very strong out DPS and you keep casting their ultimate with this, then they will be able to do a lot of damage. And since this Flirt of Fiction will actually trigger the ultimate, the character will actually consume the Moxies, which means doing this will grant Recoleta Monomythic or Ensemble narrative, right? But upon using the ultimate, they will instantly recover all the Moxie that they have consumed. Okay, so now in the next round, you can use their ultimate again, or in the same round, you use Flirt of Fiction, then you use their ultimate, then they will cast it twice. Okay, this ultimate does not count as an extra action, and the recovered Moxie cannot exceed the Moxie required to cast the ultimate. Okay, why did they mention that is because previously, Flirt of Fiction can be used on Recoleta herself, and let's say Recoleta has 10 Moxie, but she actually just needs 5 to cast it. So when you use Flirt of Fiction, it will consume all 10, but only return her 5. Okay, but now that is no longer relevant because you can't even target her in the first place. And for each point of Moxie consumed by that one target or mass ultimate, Recoleta gains 2 stacks instead of 1 stack. So the one that from Flirt of Fiction is special. So let's say you have Melania, you use Flirt of Fiction to trigger Melania's ultimate. Now instead of 5 stack of Monomythic narrative, you will be getting 10. Alright, so with that, let's talk about her rotation. She actually doesn't really have a fixed rotation. I couldn't pinpoint one because it's very much dependent on the teammate that you bring along. So yeah, and now that her Flirt of Fiction can only be used on other ally, she you can use her to trigger the ultimate of that DPS or sub DPS, and that make her function more as a sub DPS herself instead of the main DPS. So here, generally, I have 2 forms of a rotation. First, as a DPS, her rotation is now 2 rounds as she needs to gain at least 10 Moxies. Before that, it's just 5. And then you can out every round because you're using Flirt of Fiction on herself. But now with her Euphoria, you cannot do that anymore. So you need 2 rounds. So assuming that she already got her ultimate, here the cycle is that you out, you use S1 and S2. Assuming that there are some passion drain like you use Melania or Moldier, so when you out, you actually get back 1 Moxie because of passion drain. Now you use S2, assuming there's still a passion drain on the enemy. Now you inflict 2 more passion drain and then you consume 1, and then S2 attacks the enemy, consume 1 more passion drain. So in this case, I will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 2 from using S1 and S2, 3 from passion drain. So that's 5 Moxies. Now in round 2, you use Flirt of Fiction on another ally, and you will get 2 Moxie because the ally trigger ultimate is 1, and because it is triggered by Flirt of Fiction, you get another one. So now you got 7. And here, assuming again the enemy has passion drain, you use S1, you use S2, there will be 2 Moxie each, so now you have 11 Moxies. So for you to get up to 15 Moxies, which means in round 1 and round 2, your other ally has to be casting 2 ultimates, which is actually quite difficult. So if you have some other character that can just do ultimate like Gertian without Moxie, and like Hisabeth, his is considered an ultimate, you don't need Moxie to cast it. So those will actually help Recoleta out and granting her even more Moxies. As for a sub DPS, you don't really need to care about the Moxie, you just need 5 in order to use her ultimate. You just need to bother more about the Monomythic and Ensemble, but even then, it's just 10 stack and that is easy to achieve. Okay, so her rotation then can become a 1 round rotation where she use ultimate, Flirt of Fiction, trigger your allies, right? And here I'm assuming one of the ally will also use an ultimate, then she will be getting 3 Moxie out of it. So she just have to use S1, S2. She already will overflow with more than 5 Moxies. So I guess if there's another means to give her another Moxie, she just need to use S1 or S2. And I'm pretty sure you will have 10 stack of Monomythic and Ensemble because of Flirt of Fiction. That itself gives you 10 stacks. Okay, but if you're doing this, then you actually have quite little AP left. So again, this depends on the team that you are in. If they can give her even more Moxies, that can make her more AP friendly. So let's say you don't have those and you still want to use her, then maybe you can plan for a 2 round rotation where basically she outs, then she uses the Flirt of Fiction, and in between that 1 to 2 rounds, she basically just need another 3 more Moxie. So maybe just use one of her S1 or S2, and it really end up depending on how frequent your ally uses their ultimate, assuming if they just, one person will be using ultimate per round, and in round 1 there's another ultimate, in round 2 there's another ultimate, so overall she will have 4 Moxies, so which means, yeah, using just S1 or S2 is enough. For her teammate, as a DPS here, I actually proposed the Dynamo character Auric, Charon, and Enigma. Very strong, even stronger than her ultimate team. Characters in this team also get Moxie passively very easily, so they will be doing a lot of ultimates, and that actually helped Recoleta out as well, okay? So for her ultimate team, they are pretty old at this point, but it's still the same set of characters, and I can tell you this team is weaker than the Dynamo team, okay? So yeah, you would want to use the Dynamo team. So here you can either use like Pickles, but you have to put Pickles behind Recoleta. Pickle will boost her attack. You can use Moldier, Melania, they are all ultimate support. Moldier can counter with ultimate, so it helps with the additional Moxies. Gertian can trigger ultimate at the end of the round, or every time he uses his skill, he will also zap the enemy, and that is considered an ultimate. So they will work. He's the best as well, but I didn't put her in. If using her as a sub DPS, then you want to use her with characters that has very strong ultimate like Igor. So this is an example team with Igor, Recoleta, Lopera, and Marsha. Future server patch down, after collaboration patch, there will be more character coming in with really good ultimate that you can pair together with Recoleta, and they are actually pretty good, okay? But since it's the future, I don't want to spoil it, so I didn't list it here. So currently, the strongest, I would say the strongest ultimate DPS here is Igor. Okay, for her Psychube, I would recommend using her own Psychube. So when the carrier attacks for each point of Moxie health, the attack gain ultimate might 1.2 to 2.4%. And yes, if you have her at 15 Moxies, so that the ultimate might is a lot, okay? If the carrier is of mineral status, for each point of Moxie consumed, gain critical damage plus 1 to 2%, and that stack up to 16 times, okay? So it can add up to 30 over percent. Yeah, so a very good Psychube for her. For her portrait, P1 to P5, I would recommend, actually she works P0 is fine, but if you want to spam more ultimate, make her more like a sub DPS, then you would really want to use P1. If you're using her as a DPS, you don't actually really need P1, okay? Yeah, because P1, now you can gain preparation Recoleta up to 2, which means you get 2 Flood of Fiction. And that can be pretty bonkers if your ultimate DPS really just nukes the enemy down. Now they can do it 3 times in a row. Okay, level portrait P2, P3, P4, P5, actually they are all just increasing her damage, Recoleta's damage. So, but then again, if you really want to use her as a damage, might as well you just go maximum and up to P5. Okay, so my recommendation here will be P1 and P5. Okay, for should you pull her? Well, she has now like a dual function, a DPS and an out spamming support. So I guess that's pretty interesting. And P1 is interesting. I'm actually trying to get it, okay? Because it allows out spammers out to be casted twice. Yeah. So, okay, I would say if you really have extra resources, no harm trying to get her. She's actually pretty good. But if you are really limited, then I think you can skip her. Because at the moment, she don't really have her own team. Like the Dynamo wheelchair team is not actually hers. The Dynamo belongs to the Dynamo team, right? So in a way, if you have Lucy, Broom, all that, you already got a very strong team. You don't necessarily need to replace them with Recoleta. Although if like you want a mineral version, down the line there's another character that is also using Dynamo wheelchair and is also a mineral unit. So if you can't get her now, then you can get the other unit later, okay? Yeah. And even as the out support, like let's say you want the user to trigger more out from Igor, but actually Igor has his own team, Moldier and Lopera, and you can even put like Flutterpage in. So it's not necessary that you need to replace, because it's not like Recoleta going to make that team way much stronger. No, she's not going to do that, which means you don't technically need to get her. Okay, but the last thing I want to say, if you really lack of mineral units and you can't wait another 2 to 3 patch, then I think you should get Recoleta to fill up your roster and having a mineral DPS. Alright, so that's enough yapping for today for Recoleta, and that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching and have a good day.